Okay, now we're going to go ahead and show you how to adjust a rear derailleur. This rear derailleur is messed up right now. It does not want to get all the gears. So we're just going to take it down from the beginning like it was a brand new derailleur. You're going to need a 9mm socket. Sometimes these are 10 on older models, but it's either going to be a 9 or a 10. Just go ahead and loosen that so that it's all the way off. It actually will even pop right out of there. What you're going to want to do to make the whole job a little bit easier is lube up the areas where the cables enter and exit the cable housing. So we'll just put a little lube in here and put a little lube here. Oops. A little lube here. And we can even throw a little lube up here in the derailleur itself. I mean in the shifter itself. Alright. Over time, especially in this salt air environment, you can get a little corrosion there, and you'd be surprised how often just a little bit of lube right there makes things work better. And you're going to want to work it back and forth a little bit. You can do that even just by turning the shifter up here, and just work that back and forth a little. That's going to help you out. By removing this cable, what I've done is I've taken all the tension off of the derailleur, and as I turn the cranks, it's going to want to bring that all the way down into the first gear, or the high gear, I should say. It may actually bring it all the way off if the stop is not adjusted correctly. So you just want to spin it far enough to where it gets to that first gear and then stop. And then the first thing you're going to do is check the derailleur stops. Those are these two screws right here. You may not be able to see, but one's marked with an H and one's marked with an L. The H is for the high gear, which is the little ring. So you'll want to try to look at this screw where it comes through, and it's going to make contact with a portion of the derailleur right there. You can see that it's a little bit off, which is not what you want. So what you want to do here is put your screwdriver in there, usually a flathead will do the trick, and dial her down until it's just touching right here. That will keep this derailleur from moving this way any, because if that happens, this chain will come to this gap between the frame and the cassettes, and that won't be a safe riding condition for the renter. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and take, just with enough hand tension, all the slack out of the cable. You don't have to go too crazy with it. You don't need to pull it with a wrench or a pair of pliers, but you'll want to pull that slack out and put the cable in between the silver plate and the black plate, or the housing of the derailleur itself there. There's generally a little groove cut out for it in the silver plate. You can find that, pull it in there, grab your socket, and tighten her down while applying a good amount of hand tension on the cable. But like I say, you don't need to go too crazy. Okay, get that nice and snug, and that's good to go. So at this point, you're going to go ahead and check how many gears you got. Give it a little spin. You should change one gear per click. So it seems like it's working in the bottom half. It's a little touchy right there. We'll go ahead and continue on up. We do get the top gear. We'll run through the gears a little bit, sometimes just a little slack or a little lack of slack in the cable. We'll jack things up, but you can see she switches, but she's a little bit rough in some of the places on the way up. On the way down, she seems to go nice and good. So what that's telling you is that there's nothing in the cables that's binding it up. On the way down, it's like giving out the slack. But on the way up, it's a little bit rough. So it could use a little bit more cable tension. And luckily, we can do that with these barrel adjusters here. This barrel adjuster, when adjusted all the way out, will probably make it all the way to here. And if it's in that condition, you're going to want to dial it all the way back in and pull the cable slack out and then start all over. But here, we can go ahead and just adjust it by hand because we got plenty of slack. So as I turn this, you can see that barrel adjuster coming out a little further. And that has tightened the cable. And so now as I spin, you can see it pops up one with each click without messing up too much at all. Maybe just a little bit more I'll put in there. And that should be it. We'll go down and make sure she still slides down all the way. See, and what you can see is we've gone too much cable tension. Now I got the top gear, but I don't have the bottom gear. So it's gone a little too far. We'll go ahead and dial that back in and see where we're at. I've got the top gear. And I've got the bottom gear. Once you get it, you'll want to work it through a couple times just to make sure. But this one looks like it's pretty good to go now. Perfect. So once you're good there, the last thing you're going to want to do is check the stop for the low gear. So there's, like we mentioned before, there's an adjuster that's marked with an L. You can see where it goes through, and right now it's just about making contact, which is fine. We're in the big ring, which is the low gear. We're going to adjust the screw marked L, and we're going to bring it in just a little bit. You can maybe put a little bit of tension on there, but not too much to where it wants to actually move the derailleur, just to where it stops it right in this position here. And now you're good to go. That will keep the chain from moving any further this way and end up sliding in between the spokes and the last ring of the cassette. And that's it.